Yes, this 2021 to 2023, the Universal Catholic Church is going to organize a synod on synodality. It's a rather strange topic. We have the Secretariat for the Synod of Bishops in Rome that organizes synods. And this year, the Holy Father decided that the whole church should reflect on synodality. Synodality as a method of being church, synodality as a method of governance, and synodality as a method of involvement of the Christian faithful in the life of the church. Synodality itself stands out as a method. It's not an end in itself. The church is the end. But synodality is the method of governing the church, a method of fulfilling its mission. And that is why the term synodality is not in isolation. Synodality goes together with communion, participation, and mission. And if we take this term, synodality, independent of the three adjectives describing it, communion, participation, and mission, then we will not understand it. And I think it is very important for us. First of all, let me explain something to the faithful. That this is the first time that the church is organizing a synod at all levels of the church. Before, they will send out the working document, which we call the Instrumentum Laboris, and everybody is going to study it, make their contribution through the Episcopal conferences, and they'll send them back to Rome, and then the synod will be summoned for the bishops to come and go through all those documents and come out with a final document which they'll hand over to the Holy Father, and the Holy Father will study it, make adaptations, and then publish it as the final document, the conclusive document, what we call the post-synodal apostolic exhortation. But this time, what has Pope Francis done? Pope Francis has decided that the synod will go on for 3 years. It will begin in October 2021 and will be closed in October 2023. So in October 2021, the 9th and 10th of October, the Holy Father is going to launch the Synod on Synodality in Rome, in St. Peter's Square, with a Mass and a meeting with the Synod members. And after that launching, every bishop is expected to launch the Synod on Synodality, communion, participation, and mission in his own individual cathedral, in their own individual cathedrals. So on the 17th of October, 1 week after the Holy Father has launched the Synod in Rome, it has to be launched in every diocese. And when it is launched in every diocese, then every diocese sends the name of a contact person to the National Episcopal Conference. The National Episcopal Conference sends the name of a contact person to the Regional Conference. The Regional Conference sends the name of a contact person to the General Secretariat in Rome. And they'll get a small commission to work on this. So they have given us what we call the pre-synod document. When we launch this, every local church has to study this pre-synodal document and answer some questions. How they want the church to be united. Communion. So we start from there. Communion You know that the word communio is unity, it's togetherness. And with communion, the decision that is taken by the local church, by the universal church, has to be in unity. So you talk about communion with the local bishop, you talk about communion with the Episcopal Conference, you talk about communion with the Supreme Pontiff. And so the church works in communion. Communion is a very important word for the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church is a church that works, the church that evangelizes in communio, in communion. So it is not that every church exists in isolation, but we work in unity. And in this communion, we now talk about participation. How does everyone who is a Catholic participate in the life of the church? This is a very important point, that while we are maintaining our unity, we also see about participation. How does everyone participate in the life of the church? And this one, we have to answer the questions beginning from the grassroots. Like we say here, we reflect on it in our small Christian communities, in our mission stations, in our parishes, the level of the diocese, etc., etc. And this is participation. And I think that in a certain way, our provincial pastoral plan answers a lot the question of participation, because we look at the participation in the church at all levels. And also we look at the degree of participation. In the three munere of the church, the three official offices of teaching, of governing, of sanctifying, these are the three offices of the church which belong to the diocesan bishop, but we are looking at these offices and seeing how the entire church can participate in the three munere of governing, of sanctifying, and of teaching. So this one is very important. Then the third aspect is mission. The church, from the very day of its foundation, is missionary. Jesus says to his apostles in Matthew 28, "Go ye therefore, make disciples of all nations." And so from the moment of the mandate given by Christ to the church is missionary. The church is always going out to make disciples of all nations. The church will never stop being a missionary church, a church on mission, a church that has been mandated by the founder to make disciples of all nations. And so, these are the three aspects from which we are treating synodality. Synodality as a method of being and belonging to the church, and at the same time, we look at it under communion, participation, and mission. This is what synodality is all about. Then we move to the calendar of the synod. The first aspect is the launching by the Holy Father. And that will be on the 9th and 10th of October. After that, every bishop launches the synod in his own cathedral around the whole world. And when it is launched, then the bishop constitutes a contact person who will now organize the various parishes to get their answers to the questionnaire. The parishes will study the questionnaire and send in their answers before a certain date. And we want to work it in our country to say that all the questionnaires should be answered and submitted by the 31st of December. And then the National Conference is going to synthesize all those questionnaires and come out with a Cameroon answer to the questionnaire and send to the General Secretariat by the 22nd of April 2022. When they synthesize that questionnaire in April in the Secretariat in the Vatican, then now they'll send out what we call the first instrumentum laboris. That first instrumentum laboris is the instrument of work, the working document. The working document will come from the General Secretariat in Rome. So all this one is consultation on the pre-document. Ordinarily, the normal working document is constituted and sent out. But this time, the Holy Father said, we are sending out a document, but we are not sure if that document answers the reality of the local churches. So send out a pre-document, which they will answer and send to constitute what they think, what they want, before we make the real working document of the Synod. And this time, there are going to be two working documents. Because when we get the one of April, there's going to be another one in September. And we'll do that again and send in before April 2023. And once we do that, now they will constitute all those two documents and prepare for the Synod, which will take place in October 2023. These are the steps. Launching in October 2021 at the Universal Church level on the 9th and 10th of October. Launching at the diocesan levels on the 17th of October. And then synthesis of the questionnaire in Cameroon by the 31st of December. Sending of the questionnaire for Cameroon to the Vatican, first through the regional conference, the SHAM for Africa. Through that to the Vatican by April 2022. Then we receive the first instrumentum laboris. We work on it, do the same questionnaire and send, and by September we receive the second instrumentum laboris.
Your Grace.
And we work on it until April, and then send it back, they constitute it now, and convene the Synod for October 2023. Yes.
Your Grace, from your explanation, the three aspects in which we are going to be treating synodality are communion, participation, and mission.
Yes.
And in the church province of Bamenda, I would dare to say, because I know of the Diocese of Bamenda very well, it's like we are already into it. It's like it's our way of life in the church. So what is going to be different? The participation is there, the communion is there, the mission is there. So what is expected of the Christians of the Archdiocese of Bamenda who already live what is being expected from?
That is not the summary of the Universal Church. We are talking about the Archdiocese of Bamenda, but there is this questionnaire, this synod concerns the whole Catholic Church in the whole world. Luckily, the fathers of our diocese had this vision of getting our local church to be a participatory church. And there we have the small Christian communities, the mission stations, the parishes, but that's not what exists in the whole world. This one came about as a result of Africae Munus, the document published by Pope Benedict XVI when he visited Africa, the second document on Ecclesia in Africa. That is how we developed this. And the first one, Ecclesia in Africa of John Paul II. Those are the things that made Africa to move a step. But now we're going to do a synthesis, and you cannot say for sure that what will Bamenda learn that is new. Because just wait until you get the instrumentum laboris from all the churches in the world, and then you will see that there are some elements which maybe Bamenda never ever thought of. And this is what the Catholic Church is all about. Learning from one another. Communion. And that communion doesn't make Bamenda an isolated church. Communion makes Bamenda stronger in its unity with the Universal Church.
Your Grace, the launching in dioceses on the 17th of October, how is it going to look like in the Archdiocese of Bamenda in particular? What are your expectations from Christians?
My expectations are varied. For your information, I've appointed the Vicar General, Monsignor William Neba, and sent his name already to the National Episcopal Conference as a focal person for Bamenda Archdiocese. And again, maybe for your information, the National Conference designated me as a focal point for the Bishops' Conference in Cameroon. Again, for your information, I seem to be very involved in this, from the basic to the top, because I'm one of the 16 members of the Synod Council that is advising the Holy Father on this. And so I'll be in Rome for the launching of the Synod on the 9th and 10th of October. I have to be there. The Holy Father insists that all the 16 members of the Synod Council should be there physically. So we are going to be there physically. And in this way, we are able to see how synodality flows from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. And in the Archdiocese of Bamenda, we are going to get some aspects. We're going to invite people for this synodality. We'll launch it in the church, get delegates, and after the Mass, we'll have a small session to present to the delegates what synodality is. We'll talk about synodality, explain to them what synodality is, and then confer to them the document, the pre-synodal document, which they'll take back to their parishes and go back to their parishes and start the answering of the questionnaire. So this all will be done on that day of the launching. Well, for Bamenda, since I'm one of the Synod Fathers and I have to travel to Rome, I may not be back in time on the 17th for the launching in Bamenda. So I talked with some of my members of the College of Consultors, and we put it the upper Sunday. So Sunday 24th, we are going to be launching the Synod on Synodality in the Archdiocese of Bamenda. This is very important for all of us.
It's exciting. When something is new, generally it's exciting. And how do you think that the delegates that will come, you just said earlier that they will take it back to the parishes. What will be put in place to ensure that every other person is involved?
Well, I'm going to put in a mechanism in the Archdiocese of Bamenda, and that mechanism would be to get a date, because I'm going to write a letter to this effect, a secular letter, where the parish priests must launch it in their parishes. I must give a date where they will launch it in their parishes, and during all the masses on those Sundays, they should talk on synodality. And probably I'll even write a small document on what they should say. It's important that every Mass on the day that we're going to designate, they will speak about synodality in the Archdiocese of Bamenda, so that it becomes a sing-song. We must all understand what synodality is, and secondly, how it is involved in participation, communion, and mission. And that one, we must be involved at all levels. So as I say, on Sunday is a day of obligation. All Christians go to church, and the parish priests do their best to cover masses within their parishes in mission stations. In all those mission stations on that Sunday, they will talk about synodality. So nobody will be left out. People may understand at different levels, but nobody will say that they have never heard. They will hear.
Your Grace, we are lucky that you are one of the 16. Before we get to 2023, we'll certainly get enough. We'll certainly be well edified because you are just with us. But then, you must have got some foresight, some information as to why synodality. What is it that you, fathers of the church, what is it that you want to change?
You see, the church has existed for 2,000 years. And many things are changing in the society. People are more educated. People are more involved in the lives of their local churches. People are more into theology and canon law, lay people, which was not the case before. There are many more catechetical institutes and theological institutes in dioceses that has opened the minds of the people, and the people want to be more involved. If you go to some of the Western societies, the people are withdrawing from the church because they don't feel that they belong. And so we thought that it was time for us to sit down as fathers of the church and reflect on how we can involve everybody in the aspects of communion, participation, and mission. So we cannot predict the outcome of the synod on synodality before it is finished. The only thing is that we looked at the changing times. Many more people are getting very educated in matters concerning the church. Many more people are concerned about the life of the church, and we can no longer make the church look like a thing of priests and bishops. We have to make the church look like a community of believers. Go back to the early church. We used to say in Bamenda, the original way of being church. They took decisions in common. Consultation was done at various levels. And we think that let us not allow our church to be skipped by in history. Internet has come, Instagram, WhatsApp, and all those things that have brought the world to everybody's palm top. And you cannot sit in your own cocoon and behave as if you will do things the same way as you did them 1,000 years ago. We also have to adapt our means of belonging, participation to these modern times and to the modern mentality. And to do this, we have to get the whole church involved. Many more people in Africa, we still have a very vibrant church. But if you go to some parts of Europe, you go to some parts of Asia even, people are beginning to withdraw and leave the church to the priests and the bishops. This is not the ideal. What is it that is making them not to feel that they belong? What is it in Europe that is not making the people not to feel that they belong? And even we are talking about our young people. They are getting very much involved in Africa still, but you still get some of the young people who are not hot about what the church is doing. And we don't want that sickness to arrive in Africa. But what is it that makes the people not to feel attached, not to feel that they belong, not to participate, and not to be involved in the mission of the church? This is what we want to reflect on. And we thought that the church, the world was changing too much for us to stick to our old ways. Remember, the first code of canon law was published in 1917. But in 1983, the code had become completely irrelevant, and it was revised, and we had a new code in 1983. And now, it is 83 to now, it's only something like 40 years or so. But we are again seeing that the code is almost going out of existence, out of relevance, because things are changing too fast. We have to sit down and look at all those things that constitute the life of our church. That is why this synod on synodality is an absolute necessity for the Catholic Church at this time. And Pope Francis, you know the way he does it. Pope Francis came, and the first thing is he wants to revise Pastor Bonus, the document which organizes the Roman Curia. And then he chooses the College of Cardinals, 6, 7, or 9, who advise him all the decisions he takes, major decisions, he calls them for a meeting, he talks with them before he takes the decision. So that is his style of governance: consultation, participation. And the decision you take is not your personal decision. And within how many years? It's practically every 2 years he convoked a synod. Where he started with the synod on the family. There were 2 synods on the family, the young people, and now again there's a synod on synodality. So Pope Francis has this synodal method of trying to govern, and I think that is the spirit he wants to inject into the church, that there should be more participation, communion, governance, mission for all the members of the church.
And Most Reverend Father, as a focal point person, you should certainly be facing some challenges, reaching out to your brothers, bishops, explaining. What can you highlight some of the challenges you face as a focal point person? Or there are no challenges?
There are enormous challenges. The first challenge I face as a focal person, there are three of us for Africa who are in the Synod Council. The Cardinal Archbishop of Bangui, the Archbishop of Mubango in Angola, and myself in Bamenda. And the first challenge I had is accepting the theme synodality as an African. And this was a heated debate for all of us in the presence of the Holy Father. When the synod topic was announced, synodality, most of my African bishops who voted me into the council called me to question me, what have you people done like this? What is synodality? How can you go and accept the topic on synodality? As Africans, what are we talking about synodality? This is a very big challenge I faced. And I'm still facing, because many of our African fathers hesitated on accepting the topic synodality. The second challenge I face is the documentation being received and understood by the bishops. The documentation is sent out practically to every National Episcopal Conference in all the languages. In Cameroon, we receive it in English and in French. But people still call you and ask questions which are in the documents that they have. And so you have to be very patient in explaining. The third challenge I have is constituting a national calendar for the synod itself, this synod on synodality. And that's why I could say to you here that we will launch on the 17th in dioceses, and then we expect the replies to come back by the 31st of December. Then by the 22nd, they would have synthesized and sent to Rome and all those things. So that's the third challenge I have. Coming out with a national calendar which will be accepted by the National Episcopal Conference and which everybody will follow. The third thing is a projection. You project a difficulty, because sometimes you ask dioceses or even parishes just to fill a form, and it takes them forever to do it. And the question we're asking is it going to be possible that all these local churches will answer these questionnaires and do the things that we're asking them to do in record time and send them for onward transmission? But as I say, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So these are some of the challenges. The last major challenge I think we face is that we're supposed to be going to Rome practically every 3 months for the preparation of the synod, but we couldn't due to corona pandemic. We therefore had to do most of our meetings on Zoom with the Rome General Secretariat. And then now it has come to the launching of the synod. We are invited to go. You have to do so many documents. You have to show your vaccination cards. You have to get a certificate of non-infection by COVID 48 hours before you travel. And all those are some of the difficulties that come up with this synodality. And many of the people around the world who would have loved to be in Rome for the launching of the synod would not be able to travel because of the current corona pandemic. So those are some of the challenges that I face personally and which the church faces generally.
Yeah, Most Reverend Father, when it comes to Cameroon or our nation, when the information comes in, has a committee been put aside to do the summary and forward immediately it comes in? Who does it?
A committee has been put aside by the National Episcopal Conference. We have already forwarded that committee through the Nunciature to Rome. And in that committee, we have, the committee is led by the rector of the Catholic University in Yaoundé for Central Africa, Father Jean-Bertrand Sala. And there is Father Augustin Musomo, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Theology. And there is Father Zeverino Sumbu Iem, who is the National Education Secretary. Then there is also Father Gilbert Pali, who is the National Secretary for Communication in the National Episcopal Conference. That is the committee that has been put in place. And the four of them are going to do this synthesis of all that under the supervision of the bishop who has been designated as myself. And because I'm involved at the universal level, I also asked the Episcopal Conference that I need somebody to work with me, so that if I'm involved in the universal level arrangements, the person can be working at a local level. So the bishop who is assisting me for the synod on synodality is Bishop Emmanuel Yofang Dasi, the Bishop of Bafia. So this is the team that has been put in place to work.
Yeah, Your Grace, before we take leave of you, it's something coming up, and it's something that is so dear to the church. What message have you got?
My message for the Christians, first in the Archdiocese of Bamenda, and then to Cameroon and to Africa, is that we should be open. We should be open-minded. Let us not be too conservative in how we have been doing our things. Let the Spirit blow. Let the Spirit move the church to wherever it wills. We have to be docile to the Spirit. Let us not look at what the church is asking us to do and say, like you were asking, we are already doing it, or it's nothing new, or they are coming to change our methods. No. Every Catholic Christian is supposed to be open-minded. Just let the Spirit govern the church. Just let the Spirit work in its church. And even those of us who have been members of the Synod Council and who have actually worked out this working document, we cannot tell you that we know where the Synod or Synodality is taking us. We are open-minded and we are letting the Holy Spirit guide His church. And this is what I'm telling the Christians. They should be open-minded, they should be ready to give, and they should be ready to take. This is what the Catholic Church is. And I'm looking forward actually to a very, very strong Catholic Church after the Synod on Synodality.
Thank you very much, Your Grace. We can only pray and wish you journey mercies with all the other participants.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.